Sit back and relax while I listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On this episode tonight, we're going to be going through the 18th Legion, the Salamanders for Horus Heresy, doing the deep dives like we have before. We go through every aspect of it, although we do the rights of war separately, and part of the right of war is some psychic powers, so you might notice a little bit of an odd cut in here because we do mention it. I'm going to try and trim it out, but it might not quite be perfect, but we do actually discuss the psychic powers, obviously, though, with the rights of war, because that's how it's taken. All right. At that point, then, on to the show. All right, and we are back here tonight to continue our ever soon to be ending march towards going through all the legions for Horus Heresy. Tonight, we're going to go through the 18th Legion, so we're going to be going through the Salamanders. Just as we've done before, we're going to discuss every little facet related to these guys. We are going to be doing the rights of war in a separate video, should hopefully release about a day or so after this one. And the Primarchs we're going to do once all of this is over, which again, we're getting close to the end, so that means we're getting close to actually be able to talk about these Primarchs. So, Dan, since at one point this was a Legion he was going to do, has volunteered to talk about them.
Point.
What was that? Sorry?
It's still a point. It's still it's between Alpha Legion, Imperial Fist, and Salamanders. I bounce between these three religiously.
You've been doing a lot of lists for Imperial Fists.
I've been Imperial Fists on principle, so
yeah. It's actually, I do have a Salamanders list and an Alpha Legion list as well, and they're very weird too. I went like very sneaky out. Anyway, so Salamanders, I think these are okay. I'm biased because I actually like their 40k fluff as well. These guys are very much in the 40k and the 30k verse, very similar in terms of how they act. So if I remember correctly, this one I'm not sure of, but I do know that pre-Primarch, they were pre-Primarch, they were a bit aggressive, a bit hungry for battle. They were a bit bloody, and their Primarch actually somewhat calmed them down to what we know now today as 40k is kind of like the selfless. They help protect civilians. For those who know them in 40k, they're the ones who legitimately fought the Grey Knights at the Battle of Armageddon because the Grey Knights wanted to massacre entire citizens, and Salamanders were like, no. So these guys are that. They are very much kind of like their namesake and what they're known for. They're very much like tempered steel. They are the ones that kind of like are the shield or the bulwark to mankind. However, they were also the premier legion at the Drop Site Massacre. So their legion got what's the word I'm looking for? Decimated.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, decimated during the Drop Site Massacre. But again, the Salamanders kind of showed during that battle that they really, I shouldn't say retreat, but they have this kind of sense of hold the line, sacrifice themselves so that, again, civilian populations can escape or that other legions can escape. They were very grim before the Primarch came, and even taming that down, they're still very, I don't want to call it fatalistic. It's more of not sacrificial. That's also negative.
Martyrs?
Martyr? I hesitate with martyr because that's religious in nature, and this is the crusade. But it's very much like they will protect those weaker than them. There's a word I know of, but
chivalristic.
It may be chivalristic. Is that? I guess that's what it is. But the idea of they would protect. Yeah, they would protect those weaker than them, and that again, that has continued to the 40k verse. So this is one of the few. I would say the few legions, of course, world leaders, another one. These are the few legions that has continued the same way that they were into 40k, which I enjoy a lot. And side note, they also look really cool. I will say this is one of the cooler looking ones. But
one fluff correction for Dan.
Oh, go ahead.
Decimation is reduction by 1/10, and it was far more than a 10% reduction in legion size.
I did not know that.
Yeah, okay, that's 10. Decimation 1.
I know you did it. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's something cool that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Decimation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Decimation has nothing on what happened to that.
Oh no, they got murked. Yeah, no, they got
their Gloriana got blown up.
Yeah,
Their
no, they
Primarch was thought dead because he got bludgeoned to death by a bunch of grumpy Iron Warriors after they dropped the nuke on him.
Yes, after.
Yeah.
It's a little spoilers, or I guess again, Dropside Massacre happened
It's
10 years.
It's one of the opening fights of the Heresy.
Yeah,
Not
so
spoiler, but,
Vulcan is a
yeah.
not a progenitor. God damn it,
Perpetual.
a perpetual.
Perpetual.
So they dropped a nuke on him. He just resurrects, and they're like, "Oh, is he supposed to be alive?" And they just beat him to death continuously.
And then Conrad Kurz does some very not nice stuff with him.
Yeah,
Forgetting that a hammer with a teleport homer is still a hammer. And,
with a teleport over. No, they're a really cool Legion. They did suffer them. I think they suffered the most during the drop side because they were covering the other legions as they were fleeing. I want to say
they Iron Hands because they were in the middle of the fight and they didn't fall back.
Oh, that's true.
Iron Hands were like, I'm gonna fight and die because I'm gonna, make the traitors bleed.
Very
Salamanders fought to hold off others.
Okay.
They all did their own thing, but yeah.
But still, very cool.
Really
listen, I'll put it this way: if you like the paladin aspect of like D&D, the whole entire protecting others, this is kind of it. Now I know that someone's going to yell at me on YouTube because I know in 40K, or not even 40K, this was 30K, where Vulcan torched, basically
Eldar children.
Yeah, Eldar children.
It's a meme. I make jokes about it all the time.
Yeah, so I will say it's paladin towards humanity.
Yeah. Well, it's 30K. Humanity is the part that matters, so that's the
exactly.
I was just
because I know someone's going to make mention like, I don't remember a paladin torching elder human. I'm like, wait. Paladin
humanity first.
Humanity first.
Exactly. I remember a paladin sending multiple people to die by various animals. So I mean, what I will say briefly, if you're comparing them to paladins, I don't understand why this isn't the Legion that you have picked.
This is why it's tied with Alpha Legion. The only reason I like Alpha Legion is the way they look. I like both of them. Remember, I'm looks first and then play second. That's why I played Custodes during 8th edition. I just hate myself. I love the way they both look, and it drives me up the wall that I literally can't tell which one I like more. And I vary between the two. And then Imperial Fist, only because they look like Custodes, but Imperial Fist is 3rd place because I have Custodes already. But it's just between Salamanders and Alpha Legion, and I literally don't know which one I like more.
All right.
And it drives me up the
You got
wall.
a bit of time.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Why don't we get on to the Legion trait, which I believe Steve is taking.
Yep. So their Legion trait is extremely simple to apply. When rolling to wound against a model with this special rule, like any attack with the Flame, Melta, Plasma, or Volkite weapon or effect, reduce the result of that wound roll by -1. So effectively, if someone shoots you with a normal Flamer, your toughness 4 Marine, normally wounded on 4s, now it's 5s. A plasma gun shoots you, strength 7, normally wounds you on 2s, now it wounds you on 3s. A melta gun hits you, normally wounds on 2s, wounds you on 3s, but it's still doubling out your toughness in most scenarios, and will still inflict instant death. It's just the required roll to wound that gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And an important thing to note, this does not affect rules such as rending and breaching, which have specific values they trigger on. That's something you check in the main rules, but that's absolutely how it is. So say something was like a flame weapon that had murderous strike 5-up, right? It'll always trigger murderous strike on a 5-up. Whether or not that's a successful wound or not is another story, but the rule still comes into effect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're two separate pieces. Your murderous strike is a trigger. Your wound roll is something different. But a lot of times the murderous strike is often tied with a thing like rending. So it makes an auto wound on that number.
And rending will still automatically wound.
Yeah.
But this is relevant, for example, shooting a plasma gun at a Contemptor Dreadnought, right? Strength 7 versus toughness 7. Normally you wound on 4s, and it's breaching 4-up. But because it's -1 to wound, now you need a 5 to wound. And even though you're breaching on a 4, you need a 5 because breaches do not auto-rend. Auto-wound. Only rending does. So, yeah. Things to know. Salamander's Dreadnoughts are kind of scary. And makes Salamander's Dreadnoughts even scarier is that all models that are Salamanders with more than 1 wound or hull point gain It Will Not Die 6 up as a special rule. So that's going to be all of your veterans, your dreadnoughts, your vehicles, and your independent characters.
Terminators, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth keeping in mind for a unit of things like veterans or Terminators and all, these guys are 2 wounds. It's only going to ever help one guy because as soon as someone else takes a wound, you can't spread those around necessarily. But it's especially important on your vehicles or independent characters. And it's a lot easier now to want to put, say, the first wound that you suffer onto your character, because then I have a chance of getting it back. The second wound goes on my 2 wound infantry model. I have 2 different rolls to essentially undo some of that damage you did to me.
Yeah. And what's great is this makes the Primus Medicae far more worth his points.
Oh, absolutely.
Because one of the defining things of the Primus Medicae that almost never comes into play is that you get to re-roll It Will Not Die rolls for the unit he's attached to. Very few units in this game actually have It Will Not Die, especially in the Astartes lineup. But all the Salamanders with multiple wounds do, so they actually get real value for money out of that Primus Medicae.
Here's
compared to others.
Stupid question, because I can't find It Will Not Die on the special rules, which is somewhat annoying me. Oh, there it is. Well, if you have multiple wounded, I know you can't wound multiple models, right, by choice. But let's say you're hit by a barrage weapon multiple times, and let's say you have, 3 veterans on 1 wound each. Do you roll 3 dice, or is it only 1 for the unit?
So each model in the unit that is missing at least 1 wound rolls 1 die.
Okay.
So you can be missing 4 wounds. You only get to roll 1 die to It Will Not Die. And at the end of your own turn as well, so be careful with that.
But it's each model, right? So, let's say I had 4 models. Okay, good.
It's each model.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, this rule, honestly, would be much, much worse. Because now, when you have a character in there in a normal unit, there's only 1 roll total. Like, this is the nice flavor part that adds into it. The first part is what the trait probably is really doing for you in a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it's a rare.
The second half is here's a nice little bump that'll sometimes come into effect.
It's a nice to have.
I've seen it come into play like 4 times.
Yeah.
Of the 3 Salamanders players locally, I've seen it come into play 4 times. That's not a lot of times.
No. But so we did Word Bearers, which are out now, which I think we're all, I'll keep this brief. We like the units and stuff like that, but we're a little ho-hum on some of the rules parts, or at least the paint, or the Legion someone in general. This one we haven't gotten to the rest of it, but at least what I like about the ability is, it's passive to the most end. I mean, I'm rolling 6s for some of my guys, sure. A lot of it's passive, but it's a nice ability that you're going to see get some good use. Oh, you brought some of the big weapons. Hey, I have something against that. It feels like, unless your opponent brings 0 flamers, melta, plasma, or volkite.
Which I was just going to say, it's impossible.
Well, in a big game, if you're playing a small game, anything's possible. But in a big game, they're going to bring some of that. So you're going to feel that you're getting a good use out of it, which is what I like. Where some of these other Legion's traits, you don't necessarily feel that you get a good use out of it. It's not that you can't use it or it won't be unbelievably vital, but you don't know. This one, All right. Dan wanted the reaction. He took the fluff because he knows it better than I do, but he wanted the reaction. So explain to us.
Side note why I wanted the reaction. Because when I first came out, I liked this reaction a lot. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm using past tense. I like this reaction a lot. And a lot of people tend to hate this one for one specific reason. And in my mind, at least in a bigger game, the benefits outweigh the cons. So let's talk about this. So obviously this advanced reaction may be made once per battle by a Salamanders player. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So it's made during the opposing player's assault phase when an enemy player declares a charge targeting a friendly unit under the control of the reactive player and completely made up of Salamanders. If the enemy's unit charge is successful, all models with the infantry unit type in the target unit gain a bonus of +1 to their weapon skill, strength, and attacks for the duration of the assault phase. However, once the combat that includes the unit that has made this reaction has been selected, all models involved have made their attacks and any morale checks required. So basically at the very end of it, Roll a d6 for each model remaining in the unit that made this reaction. For each dice that scores a 6 or more, you suffer 1 automatic wound, against which no saves or damage mitigation rolls of any kind may be made. As noted, these wounds inflicted after combats, they don't count towards the combat resolution. And invulnerable saves can be made. And so if the charge is unsuccessful, all models in the unit for which the reaction was declared instead gain fearless until the end of the controlling player's next turn and do not suffer any automatic wounds. So,
I'm sorry. Did you say you do get invulnerable saves?
yeah, because it just says
you do
which
not.
No
saves.
saves. It says no saves.
Oh, no saves? Oh, okay.
No
Okay.
saves.
No.
Here's the other thing, Dan, real quick. Pull back from your mic a little bit.
Oh, sorry. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Sorry. You're popping a little bit. That's all.
No, how's that sound?
That sounds fine. Yeah. Just pull back a little bit.
So, the big thing that when this came out, a lot of people griped about was the fact that on a 6, you take a wound. Okay. Yes, that sucks. I understand. But the defensive capabilities of this are absolutely insane. Someone charges your 20-man tack squad on an objective, right? With some sort of super-powered weapon skill 5, or even weapon skill 4, but they have all these chain axes or whatever, right? And they charge you. You pop this, and now your weapon skill 5, strength 5, and you have basically veteran attacks on a normal tack squad of 20. Sure, you're going to lose some if you roll a 6 at the very end, but you are going to drag some people down with you very harshly. And you might even win the combat because now with the weapon skill change of, if they're 1 higher than you, it's 5 to hit. That's massive. Or even, let's say, we'll talk about them later, the Firedrakes, right? Which are a specialized melee unit with thunderhammers and shields. They're weapon skill 5 already. You get charged with a weapon skill 5 unit, which is normally what a melee dedicated unit is. That's elite. Now you're weapon skill 6. They hit you on 5s, you hit them on 3s. That is a very big shift in defense. And if you roll a 6, you get a wound. Who gives a shit? I don't want to curse, but like really, who gives a shit? Like, you lose a wound. And if you have like a Firedrake squad of 6 dudes, statistically you roll 1-6, you take a wound. Wow. Yeah. And it doesn't even count towards combat res.
Exactly. It may kill one guy if one guy was on 1 wound. I think that's really where this is key. On your tack squad, it's, I guess maybe flashy because my tack squad can actually do something cool. Where this is useful, though, is when they're coming at you with a premier unit against potentially your premier unit. Well, let's face it, a lot of times the charge is what you want because you get the extra attack and maybe you get some other of your rules that go off. I'm going to get the extra attack. My weapon skill is going to come up, which gives me a good shot at beating yours. Won't guarantee it, but if we're good versus good, my weapon skill will now be better. So I'm going to hit you a lot easier. You're going to hit me a lot worse. And I'm going to be stronger, so I'm going to wound you a lot easier. I honestly, I think the reaction is very, very good. I would just save it for, because it's you have to declare it before the charge is made.
Yeah.
So I would make sure I don't do this reaction unless I'm like, they're going to make this charge. Like, oh, those guys, they're like 5 inches away.
Exactly. And if they don't make it, it does kind of suck because, you get fearless, but whoop-de-doo.
You're not charged. You might not care.
Exactly. I saw this. The reason I like this is because I saw this to good use on a Pyroclast unit. You had, I think it was a unit of 10 Pyroclasts. Oh, no, it was like 7. I shot them before. You had 7 Pyroclast. They overwatched me. So that was 76 flamers, because we'll talk about their flamers a little bit later, why they get D6 instead of D3. And then he popped this, right? Because I already declared the charge. Oh, no, sorry. I made a mistake. Sorry. He popped this, and then on 1 Pyroclast unit, and then he overwatched me with the other Pyroclast unit, because I was doing 2 charges. And both units that went in were just decimated. One because of the overwatch from the other Pyroclast unit, and one because all of a sudden he's weapon skill 5. It's like, oh no, I can't handle this. Yeah. It's really cool. It's a really neat ability.
I honestly, I don't really see the downside. Like, okay, you might take some wounds. I'm not too concerned about that, because if it's causing me to do much better in a combat, which probably means winning a combat that before I was really unsure of, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you figure you're popping this because you might have lost otherwise. And if you lose, my unit might die anyway.
Yeah.
Now, if I can win, my unit's probably not dead.
Imagine like two Contemptors charging a Firedrake unit, right? And you pop this. Now those Contemptors are hitting you on 5s, and you're hitting them more with more attacks.
Yeah, I've seen it happen plenty of times where, if you make Contemptors go to 5s, they're just oftentimes not taking you out or not doing enough damage.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
So I haven't used this yet, personally. I do have some Salamanders as a little side project. I'm at like 1,500 points. Not that much. But I have not actually used this. Actually, I used this once against you, actually, Dan.
Yeah, I know.
It's nice. It's scary when you have one wound left on your Praetor and you're rolling to see if he blows himself up. But it was a nice offensive boost to hit strength, strength big, attacks big, weapon skill big. The major downside is you want your opponent to charge you to get this off. And if it's your own big combat unit, generally you want to be the one charging. So you're depending on your opponent to also have a scary unit charging in order to trigger the ability.
Can you react if you're in combat? No, right?
No, because engaged units cannot react.
Okay. I just wanted to check something real quick. Okay. Yes, that is a slight problem. But
someone messing with something?
My cat is playing with his stupid.
Got it. Okay. I can hear a little. Yeah, I can hear something in the background. I wasn't sure what that was.
Yep, that's literally him playing with I don't even know. He found something on my table.
So, Steve, related to something you said, oh, you might be concerned if your Praetor's on like 1 wound and you get this. By wording, so all models involved make their attacks and name more blah blah blah. They roll d6 for each model remaining, and the unit suffers an automatic wound for which.
That's true.
You get to allocate
a random squaddy.
True.
Yes.
But in this particular case, I had like 2 or 3 models left in the unit.
Okay, yeah, that makes you had no one else left, so that makes
I was gonna say, to be fair, you had just the Praetor in the unit. That's what made it scary.
Okay.
I remember that game.
I wanted to make sure I didn't miss something here. Okay.
No, he just had just the Praetor. And that's what actually killed the Castellax. He murdered my Castellax coming in. Because my Castellax
only murdered if they were ever alive.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh no, they're cyborgs in 30K. They're not full AI yet. But yeah, no, it's he that's what was scary. But yeah, no, it's real cool. I like this advanced reaction. I know a lot of people don't like that negative, but honestly,
it needs it.
Yeah, it needs it.
I'm going to be honest. It needs a negative because otherwise, okay, if you gave them, I would say for no negative, maybe 2 out of 3.
Yes.
1 for sure, maybe 2 out of 3. But to get all 3, I'm now doing a lot to you. So that's worth it. That's absolutely worth it. Your cat is going to make me later have to go in and silence audio. That's why dog is nice, because he's just sitting in the front and he's sleeping. He's not bugging anyone.
She's going to start meowing in a couple seconds too, because I haven't. Yeah. Oh, actually, no. Now she's behind me. So we're good. She's on top of the chair.
Nice. All right, let's take a look at these Warlord traits. The Traitor one is the last one in this case, so I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to take the Loyalist one because why not? I feel like it. All right. So for the Warlord trait, this is the weight of duty. Have to be loyal. A Warlord with this trait, in all models in the unit he has joined, gain a bonus of +1 to their strength characteristic when locked in combat with any enemy unit that includes 1 or more models with a variant of the Fear special rule. Okay, I already don't like it. Furthermore, this Warlord in any models in a unit he has joined composed entirely of Salamanders gain the Hatred Traitor special rule while the Warlord is part of the unit. An army whose Warlord has it may not include Legion Destroyer assault squads, Legion Mortalis Destroyer squads, or Legion Centurions with the more attack console upgrades that also have the Salamander special rule. You also get an extra reaction in the assault phase. So this is them wanting to be the most stand up and upright gentleman.
Yeah, pretty much.
In every way they can. So you get +1 strength if the unit has fear. Okay, I can understand that. I don't care about that at all.
Exactly.
Hatred Traitors, again, we talked about, just call it versus the other unit. Useful, I'm not necessarily sold on that. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but the other ones could be a lot better. The restrictions matter if you wanted those units. So I'm very ho-hum on this one.
This will be a recurring theme for those units. Because lore-wise, the Salamanders, and especially Vulcan, were exceptionally opposed to weapons like radiation grenades and phosphex because they tainted the very ground they were used on, and it was just bad,
he's very much against that type of weapon.
He hates that kind of stuff. Truly hates it. So those units, not part of the roster.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you slightly.
Because you like hatred. That's the only reason why.
It's as someone who has lived and died on hatred, especially with like weapons. Like obviously your Warlord's going to be like in a weapon skill 5 unit, probably Firedrakes, whatever. It doesn't matter. But having an army of weapon skill 4 hit something that is weapon skill 4 or 5, goddamn, I've lived and died on hatred. It's you need those rerolls. So the fact that he gives hatred traders to the unit makes him a de facto chaplain essentially. I like this for that. The +1 strength, who gives a damn? Whatever. I literally don't care about that.
Well, it's useful, but you have to have someone you're going against has fear.
Exactly.
And something you can't control at all.
That one's more of a cherry pick bonus. The hatred trader is honestly what got me. And again, because I've felt and I've played, God, 27 games now or 30 games with Mechanicum, and my Myrmidon Armory has hatred. I've literally just been like, oh my God, this first roll is shit. Thank God I've got hatred. Because I would need 5s to hit, like a Contemptor. So that's the only thing I'm going to say, because re-rolling like 5, I think re-rolling 5s turns it into like hitting on a 3. Is that how the math works? Re-roll of 5s is like hitting on a 3.
Okay, so here's how that math would work.
Oh God.
When you're thinking about it. So you say to yourself first what's going to happen. The easier way to think about something like this when you're doing multiple things is to think about the fail condition. So how would I fail? I don't roll a 5 and then I don't roll another 5. We said the word and means multiply. How do you not roll a 5? 2/3 of the time you don't roll a 5. Okay. And don't roll another one because we want to talk about purely failing. Yeah. Okay, that's another 2 out of 3. All right, so that gives me 4 out of 9. So that means my success then is the opposite of that, because I succeed if I make the first or if I make the second. So 5 out of 9 times.
Which is
that's the way to do the math.
5.555555555. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's about a 50%. Yeah. So it's like hitting on a 4-up. Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than a 4-up.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So honestly, that's just only because I've had that experience of like, oh my God, thank God I have hatred on this. That's why I like that. It does suck you can't take a Moritat though. I know it's against the fluff, but I've always wanted to see a Moritat with 2 disintegrators.
Any Legion can do that though.
Yes,
no, but if you take this Warlord, you can't take a Moritat.
Well,
yeah.
Yes, I'm saying any Legion can do Moritat with dual.
No, I know. It's just kind of, this is what I was like.
It does not have to be a Salamander.
No, I know.
According to this Warlord trait, it probably shouldn't be either.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Dan, take Promethean Will because Steve's going to trade her for as long as I can make
there were trader Salamanders too. So a Warlord with this trait and all models in the friendly unit composed entirely of models with Salamander special rule. That is part of the same detachment. Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little more restrictive this time.
Well, no, I was going to say that's less restrictive because it's the same detachment this time, not the same unit. So
when you read the buff, that's why.
Oh, yeah. So it gains a bonus of +1 to their leadership characteristic with making pinning tests to a maximum of 11. Oh, interesting. And reduce the effects of Spear special roll by 1. That means that Fear 1 basically becomes Fear 0. Oh, that's okay. Usually it's 1-1, but okay.
Yeah.
You can't take Destroyer, Mortalis, Moritats, the same thing. And you make an additional reaction in the shooting phase. Okay, I'll be honest.
As an Iron Warrior, I hate this.
Really? I was going to say met to this.
Sorry, I mean, I hate playing into this.
Oh, because
Iron Warrior spam pinning, and this is like, nope, leadership 11, get bounced.
Actually, this is really good against Thousand Suns too, with their Shell Shock 3 rotor cannons. Because the rotor cannons are what, Shell Shock 1 or Shell Shock 2?
What you'll find is that these two Warlord traits, Weight of Duty and Promethean Will, play exceptionally well into the drop site massacre traitor legions that the Salamanders are noted for fighting. Weight of Duty is phenomenal against Night Lords who are spamming fear left, right, and center. Promethean Will is great against Word Bearers and Iron Warriors that are throwing pinning around everywhere.
And Thousand Suns.
They weren't at the job site, though.
No, but I'm saying they also do pinning.
Outside of that, it's okay.
Yeah. I almost like this one a little better than the first one. Partly because I also just like the fact that this is one of the first ones I've seen. Normally in the game, and maybe there's a rule I haven't seen because there's so many rules, but max of 10 on things. That's very, very common. And every other spot that we've read so far, increase your leadership max of 10. This is not max of 10. You can actually get to the 11. You can make it so you only fail on 12s. It is a little more restrictive, like I said, because it's detachment. In some ways, it's more restrictive. Some ways, it's less, because sometimes it's like they have to have line of sight and all. This doesn't care about that, but they have to be in that detachment. Okay. And the reducing fear to potentially meaning it worthless. Usually in the game, it's reduced to a minimum of 1. This doesn't do that. So here's two sort of rules that can really screw up what you're doing, and you don't, to a larger extent than normal, you don't care about them as much. They have a lot less that they do for you. The first one, again, it's just on that unit. If they don't get into combat or their combat gets controlled, you don't necessarily get much. So this, you have a nice army-wide buff. And the reaction is shooting phase, which I somewhat prefer, because after I've used my advanced reaction, my assault reactions are probably just going to be shooting the guy anyway. I'd rather have 2 shooting reactions so that I can fire back at 2 units that come at me.
No, I like this mostly. I didn't realize it was the entire detachment.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it powerful. I think that right there is what like that. If it was just the same unit, I'd be like, this sucks.
If it was the same unit, it's a garbage fire.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, oh my God, the entire detachment? That's...
Yeah. And like I said, it's not one where they have to see them, because I know there's several legions that's like, when they can see the character, one line of sight, then they get this, that, other thing. No, so you just have it. The fact you have it is a blanket buff. I do like those. Especially when, it pairs well with some of the other stuff that they're doing. It pairs well with their Legion trait, because they're already kind of removing some strengths of things while moving some strengths of some abilities now instead of just weapons. All right. Steve, what about this Redemption of Flames? That's a weird name for this.
Flames, trader only. Well, okay, I'll hit the fluff for this one. Maybe that'll help explain things a little bit. Turn to service of the War Master. Those salamanders who abandoned their old master seek to cleanse with flame the bonds that once held them to the Emperor. On the battlefield, their zeal for their new master is made evident in the trail of action and devastation that's left in their wake. They're trying to redeem themselves in Horus's eyes, weirdly.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not totally sure why, but yeah. So this is the trader only option, and I actually know someone who's trying very hard to make like a secondary like build for their list around this. Warlord with this trait, and all models he joins with Salamander special rule gains a +1 to all 2 wound rolls or armor penetration rolls with flame or volkite weapons that are used by those units to make shooting attacks. In addition, an army with this trait may make an additional reaction in the opposing player's assault phase, as long as the Warlord has not been removed as a casualty. Much shorter than the other two, because you do get destroyers, because we're throwing away Vulcan's, hesitations and trepidations about destroyers. We're embracing it.
Yeah, we're doing the evil stuff.
Yup.
Huh.
And just one thing to note, because we are on Warlord traits, if you take a generic from the rulebook, you will have access to destroyer squads and such. Yes. It's just if you take the 2 non-dedicated trader traits that you have the restriction. So if you wanted to, take the one that makes unit pinning, go for it. You could now have destroyers. This is a shift from last edition, where all Salamanders lists just flat out could not have destroyers. It was part of their Legion rules last edition. So yeah, it's neat that now you could get them.
I like that change. I think that's a worthwhile change, because the trader side would have them. Why wouldn't they? I don't know how to feel about this one. And the reason being, okay, it's on that squad. That makes sense. Bonuses to your weapons are on the squad. Cool. If I'm shooting something normal, let's say, so I'm not worried about contemptors for the moment. I'm shooting something normal because I don't think either of these weapons. I don't care about a +1 strength. You probably should be firing at a contemptor or another heavy dreadnought. But a +1 on Volkite kind of doesn't feel that useful because Volkite often wounds ultra easy or on a 2, maybe on a 3 at worst or on a 2. So the +1 to wound might help a little bit, may not get me too far. The flame is very useful, but that means I have to definitely be taking this guy in like a unit of Firedrakes or maybe the Pyroclast, I guess.
Yeah, Firedrakes are not flamers. Pyroclasts are.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wait, so a guy named a Firedrake doesn't have fire stuff?
No,
that's the dumbest thing
so
ever.
So Firedrakes are named after the native creatures of
the Firedrakes.
According to this book, Nostromo. But no, it's Nocturne. They're not. They're from Nocturne. They're the guys that live in the lava, and Firedrake's supposed to be like as tough and durable as them.
Got it. So then you're even more restrictive what unit this guy would go in. He's going in a Pyroclast unit, or he's
or a
going
Flamer
in
support squad.
Yeah, supporter. Either support or heavy support.
Veterans with hand flamers.
I
Destroyers with hand flamers.
That is true. Technically, he's allowed with destroyers in this one. So if you want to do some,
no, he can't join
flamers.
destroyers unless he's a Moritat because of bitter duty.
Oh, that's a good point.
Put him with Pyroclasts.
Yeah, I just don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
And here's the other thing too that weakens it. Most Salamanders' flame weapons gain a +1 to their strength when you get to their custom Legion armory. So their hand flamers are now strength 4. The regular flamers are strength 5. So a regular flamer now wounds on 2s, which is really nice, but you lose almost immediately the utility of it once you go up. Unless you're fighting lots of toughness 5. Which now with Mechanicum technically being released, but also not. If you're American. Yeah. It's there. It's an option. I don't love it.
Yeah, to me, I think this is the weakest of the 3, just because, you can make a case for anything being good if you're willing to argue for long enough about how you can use a thing. But that doesn't make something good. There's so many cases where this might do you nothing or so near nothing that you're going to feel bad for having done it. Like, I went against this contemptor and I fired my Volkite squad and now they wound easier and I was able to kill them. That probably just wasn't a good choice to do anyway. Oh, my flamers are a little bit stronger. Well, your flamers are already stronger. Like, the other ones add more. If I was playing a trader, Promethean Will works nice. Or one of the base ones. Some of the base ones aren't bad. I don't know. They need to redeem that Warlord trait. That's what they need to redeem.
Yeah.
All right, so
before we move on, I want to trigger
ahead.
Everyone's OCD. Look at the dreadnought on this page.
Okay. So for people following along, this is page 309 of the Liber Astartes book.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at the Gravis Melta-Cannon. Look at the barrels of said Melta-Cannon.
One of them doesn't have a barrel.
One of them is drilled out. One of them isn't.
Oh, I thought you were going to
look Second Legion.
Yeah, so I was going to say, not the whole point that he's Second Legion?
Oh, no. That's just like his squad designation. He's still a Salamander. Look at the other you see like the very back little bit of it. But, he has one melted barrel that's not drilled, one that is. And it hurts.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, if it was 2 different models, it's like, okay, whatever. But it's not even like it's the same weapon. It's the same gun.
I'd be fine with either. Don't do both because now I hate both. All right. So they do not have a Centurion upgrade. Steve, do you have a favorite thing in here?
I mean, they're all so great. But I'll start with the foundation work.
Okay.
Artifice and Flame. So a model that's a Salamander. They exchange a Heavy Bolter for a Dragon's Breath Heavy Flamer, or a Twin-Linked Heavy Bolter for a Twin-Linked Dragon's Breath Heavy Flamer for no additional cost. In addition, any Salamander with a character subtype may add the Mastercrafted rule to any one weapon that does not already have it for 10 points each. Now, if you are a cool kid and your Praetor is not in Cataphractii or Tartaros armor, you can mastercraft the weapon. So you can have 2 mastercrafted weapons. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not bad for 10 points, being able to do that.
And your squad sergeant to do it too. So if you want to, save costs on your overall list or fill in points, just start throwing mastercrafted on every unit. I actually have mastercrafted a bolter because I had 10 points spare. I said, might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the fancy Kraken bolter, but it was still a bolter.
Yeah.
If you got 10 points left over or 20 points, that happens sometimes. You'll have like 20, 30, or 10 points over. Boom, just mastercraft stuff.
Yep.
Neat.
All right. I'll go through their flame weapons because this will be pretty fast. So it's very similar to the other rules that if you have a blank type of flamer, you can replace it with a dragon's breath something. So if you got a hand flamer, it's dragon breath pistol. A flamer is a dragon's breath flamer. Heavy flamer, dragon's breath heavy flamer. Flamestorm cannon, dragon's breath cannon at no additional cost. So you can swap out your normal flame for the better flame. They all count as flame weapons. Yeah, of course they do. They're all template. They are similar to the other flame weapons, but the strength is better by 1 for all of them. So the pistol instead of 3 is 4.
1.
Which one is not? The cannon?
The dragon's breath cannon.
The normal flamestorm is 7?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I thought it would go up to 8. It does not, so sadly, no instant death flamers here.
Yeah. The flamers are strength 5. The heavy flamer strength 6. The cannon strength 7. The cannon is torrent 18. Is that normal? I don't have it in front of me.
I believe it's torrent 12 base, and I'm looking that up right now.
Yeah, so it might be torn a little bit more. While he looks that up, the other rule is that all of these have the Dragon's Breath rule. And it says when you're using the Wall of Death special rule, like when someone is charging you or something like that, that instead of the normal D3 automatic hits, they inflict D6. So, charging a squad with flamers can be rough, but it depends on the D3. When they all can roll D6, it starts getting a lot tougher.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's torn 18.
It is
torn 18.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise
I thought it was strength 7 base, apparently strength 6 base.
Oh yeah, so it is actually better. Everything is 1 better.
Yep.
Okay.
And all the APs are 4, including the hand flamers. That's another.
Yeah, because normally the normal hand flamer had no AP, and the flamer had 5. They're all 4s now, so they're all a little bit better. Helps versus certain units, not too much, but it does absolutely help.
Mechanicum,
Solar Auxilia.
Yep.
Whenever they come out.
Yeah.
But having it be a D6 instead of a D3 is huge.
Yeah. I have actually lost 10-man squads to charging because of the D6 hits.
Wait a minute. Here's a stupid question. I thought tanks can only overwatch with defensive weapons that are 6 strength 6 and under.
True.
That is correct.
So why does the Dragon's Breath cannon have a Wall of Death special rule?
Because Dreadnoughts can have it.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Okay. Could I wait? Oh yeah, because they don't have the heavy flamer, they have the cannon. Oh, got it.
Also, if you move cruising speed, don't you have to snap shoot your weapons?
That is correct.
That is true.
You could choose to snap shoot it because you can't put a template down.
Ironically, they can actually increase your hit count against certain things. Like, there's a Dreadnought I want to flame. Let me just cruising speed real fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Snap shoot, and now do D6 hits instead of 1.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do your normal with something else and snap shoot with that weapon instead. So, all right, Dan, tell us about these storm shields.
Yep. They're actually weird. They're not... Okay, so they're different from the Imperial Fist ones. So let's talk about it. Any model... They're better. Yeah, the Imperial Fist ones are better. Any model with the independent character and Legis to start as Salamanders special rule that also is not unique may take a Dragon Scale Storm Shield for 15 points. If you are in Cataphractii or Tartaros armor, you can exchange the Combi Bolter for a Dragon Scale for 10 points. So essentially a little cheaper.
Yes.
Basically, what happened?
No, I said it's cheaper.
Yeah. A Dragon Scale Storm Shield provides a 5-up invulnerable save, or it increases an invulnerable save a model already has by 1 step up to a maximum of 3+. So basically, you can't. You also can't claim an additional attack for a second weapon, and you can't make attacks with weapons that have 2-handed special rule. So it just increases your invulnerable save by 1. The reason this is so different from Imperial Fist is that Imperial Fist is just a flat 3+ invulnerable save. This one is a +1 invulnerable save. So it's going to be put on Cataphracti.
And I feel like more units have access, don't they?
Yes, because this is just independent characters and stuff like that. Oh, any model
No.
with
It's Cataphracti or Tartaros, yeah.
Yeah, so they can take it for 10 points or your characters, yes. My apologies, yeah.
But that being said, put it on a Cataphracti. Congratulations, you now have a 3-up invulnerable Cataphracti.
For a lot of points, but I mean, good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of
Yeah,
points.
it's still, I mean, Cataphracti is, what are they normally armed with? Like basic. Is it Power Sword or Power Fist? I can't remember.
It's a power weapon.
It's a power weapon. So yeah, you have to also add the Power Fist in there. But if you want like power weapons and a 3+ invulnerable, I mean, yeah.
Paladins. They look like paladins with their swords and their shields, marching off to battle.
Yeah, and sometimes the Imperial Fist is the same price. Sometimes it's a little bit more it's a little bit more broken down to who's carrying it. But I mean, it's good. At the end of the day, it's good if you want to run shields. All right. Steve, you own some of these guys. Talk about the Mantle of this Drake.
Sure.
This is such a shame.
So this is a major downgrade from last edition, but we're in this edition now. So the Mantle of the Elder Drake, taken by a single Legion Praetor, Tartaros Praetor, or Cataphracti Praetor. That's a Salamander. And any detachment. You take a Mantle of the Elder Drake for 35 points. It grants you Battle Hardened 1. So you are going to be Toughness 5 for the purposes of instant death. So Strength 10 will still rock your world, and so will Murderous Strike.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It used to be like 25 points for Eternal Warrior, and now it's 35 points for Battle Hardened 1.
It feels too expensive.
It is
to yes. for doubling out purposes, making you Toughness 5. If it just made you Toughness 5, 35 points, it could be worth it. Because I mean, this is your characters, like they're already kind of expensive. Tacking on 30 points, that's a lot of points.
Yeah. Listen, if it was 35 points for Eternal Warrior, fine. If it was 25 points for Battle Hardened 1, that's a little bit more acceptable. 20 to 25. But 35? No. That's not no.
Yeah. It's just too much.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Again, it's a thing of maybe you take it because you have just some random points left over and you can't figure out what to do. And you don't want to mastercraft the bolter on your tac squad guy, on his sergeant. Oh, I got some points. Let me throw this on, but don't do it otherwise.
What kills me is Eternal Warrior was like not a thing in the previous edition. The Primarchs had it, and what's funny is the Salamanders had it. This was like what I think this was the only well, I mean, Thousand Suns cheated by doing psychic powers, but ignoring that, I think Salamanders were the only ones that had access to Eternal Warrior. Them and Custodes. That was it.
And Sigismund.
Sigismund, yeah.
Oh, and Sigismund, yes. And it was a really cool, fluffy thing because they were supposed to be this hardy. I would have loved that they just kept Eternal Warrior. Honestly. I wish they would have just kept Eternal Warrior because...
For the points, it should be.
Yeah. Not even just for the points.
35, yes.
Yeah. Not even for the points. Just it made sense because no one else can Eternal Warrior.
It's the problem is Eternal Warrior, especially with the way they have the game now, is exceedingly strong. So I think if you just kind of give that out without it being a heavy cost, it's too much.
Not with Brutal, though. That's the thing. Brutal
and not with
works around Eternal
Brutal.
Warrior.
I remember you take D3 or Strength 10.
But remember that there's not everything has Brutal. True. Not everything that's going to hit you has Brutal.
So much does. Where it matters, a lot does.
I don't know. 35 points is just not worth it, sadly. I wish they would have just kept it normal, kept it Eternal Warrior. Because then even at 35 points, it's like, do I really care? And if you really want to take it, you got to, that's 35 points. I just wish they would have kept it. Now it's just like I ignore it. Doesn't exist, which kind of sucks.
All right. So we get to units and...
God, they're so good.
But the big thing is there's not many of them. So out of the main book, there are 2 units. Out of the Legacies PDF, there are 3 characters. So 3 HQ choices. One of them is a Dreadnought, but essentially 3 characters. Does anyone have a favorite?
I will take either Firedrakes.
No characters in the book.
Yeah, they have no characters in the book at all.
I'll start with fire. I can do Firedrakes or Pyroclast. I love Firedrakes though. They're one of my favorites.
Remember, but there is characters as well. They need to be covered.
No, I know. I'll take fire. I'll start us off if you want.
Firedrakes aren't first.
Pyroclast.
Pyroclast are first.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah.
I thought Pyroclast. Oh, okay.
Get wrecked.
Steve,
do you, because you own some of these models, so I want to give you a
I
say.
actually don't own either of these units.
I just meant like salamanders in general.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll cover Pyroclasts because they have barbecued me plenty of times.
All right, yeah, and I can cover a couple of the characters then. All right, Pyroclast it is.
Pyroclasts for 175 points. You get basically a destroyer stat line. You got 4s with 2 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8, and a 2-up save. And then the squad leader gets an extra attack and leadership 9. So they're cut above the rest. They got that nice little 2-up and the extra wound. They come with Artificer armor, surprise, surprise. A Pyroclast flame projector, which really fast is essentially a Dragon's Breath flamer and a melt-a-gun in one weapon. You get to pick which you shoot each time. Just in case, they have a backup bolt pistol. They have a basic close combat weapon, so they'll get a bonus attack with the bolt pistol. They get melt-a-bombs, frag grenades, and crack grenades. The squad leader's a character. They're salamanders. The unit it will not die on a 5-up, and a rule called Mantle of Ash, which grants them a 5-up invulnerable save during shooting. 5-up invulnerable save all the time against anything that's a flamer, not very relevant. Plasma, pretty relevant. Melta, exceptionally relevant. And Volkite, I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
I think the best Volkite in the game might be AP3 on the
It's AP3. It's on a knight. It's on a knight, yeah.
Yeah. So, considering they have a 2-up armor, it's not coming up very often. But, I mean, just in case, it's there. Very few things aren't one of those that are AP2. I could think of, like, las cannons and then, like, a rending autocannon. I think pretty much everything else is AP3 or worse. Yeah?
Or breachable plasma.
Wise.
But remember, they get it versus plasma.
Yeah, exactly. So, meh.
I'm saying things that aren't on this list. You have
certain missiles.
Yeah.
Las missiles are AP2.
Oh, and a couple missiles.
Yes, some missiles and stuff like that.
Yeah. So those are units to watch out for. Las cannons and like a couple fancy missile launchers. And things that are gonna rend that are like bolt or...
I should point out, by the way, you mentioned that the Pyroclast flame projector is a normal flamer. It's a strength 6 flamer.
Sorry, it's a heavy flamer then.
Yeah, it's a heavy flamer. For them.
For
That's
them,
a heavy flamer for them.
Yeah. I feel like, so basically 2 firing modes. There's the dispersed mode, which is range template, strength 6, AP 4, assault 1, Dragon's Breath, or the focused beam. That's range 12. That's double last edition's range. Strength 8, AP 1, assault 1, armor beam Melta.
Oh, it's AP 1. I didn't even notice the AP 1.
Yeah, because it's a Melta-gun.
Oh,
it's literally a Melta-gun.
Yeah. They've put a lot of hurt on me because they can do cool stuff. So they take a Legion Rhino or Land Raider Proteus as a transport. If you take Underworld Assault Rite of War, you could replace that Rhino with the subterranean, the drills, which is really fun.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I've gone up against that a couple times. It's pretty sick because the drills got Meltas, and then they hop out and they got Meltas. The drill can upgrade to heavy flamers if it wants for its pintle mounts. Like, yeah, it hits like a truck. It's great. So those are the transfer options. The Rhino and the Land Raider. Rites of War might change up the Rhino for other things. Take up to 5 extra Pyroclasts. The squad leader could replace the generic combat weapon with either a power weapon for 10 points, a power fist for 20, or the natural choice this edition, the Thunder Hammer for 25.
Yeah. These guys don't feel like they want to necessarily be in combat that well. I mean, they're gonna do pretty well when you charge them because they're gonna get D6 strength 6 auto hits on everyone.
They want to bait out a charge and then cook something. They don't necessarily want to be in combat, though.
No, they don't want to be in combat because they get a bunch of attacks, but they're essentially regular Marine stat line on those attacks. So if someone's actually good at fighting, they're not going to hurt them. I do think the Thunderhammer is very helpful to make sure you get that little bit extra through.
So I did charge a unit of 10. I did get hold on. I did get Overwatch 10d6, right? Yeah. And then because they have a bolt pistol and basic close combat weapon, they're actually 3-4 attacks. So it was 31 attacks. So it does actually somewhat hurt a little bit.
No, I don't think you should be charging a unit of 10 unless you have a really good idea and a really good unit to do so. But I do like putting that Thunderhammer down to get them to a flat 200, then add some guys if you want, just in case someone gets in and survives. Because otherwise, if they're good at combat, they only have to kill a few of you, and you either might run or you'll never get out.
Well, that's why
the Thunderhammer might stop
reaction.
That. True. But then you can't shoot them.
True.
I'd rather shoot you. Yeah,
that's fair.
If I'm playing against Salamanders, please use your advanced reaction. Don't cook my squad.
Yeah. These guys are fantastic.
They're great.
I'm shocked they're not heavy, though. So if you want, you can run the squad.
Yeah, you can run them and shoot.
Yeah. No, you can't run and shoot.
Why?
That's not a thing. Only Space Wolves do that, Dan. That's not
a thing. Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Remember, assault in this doesn't mean run and shoot. That's 40k.
Oh, okay.
40k brain off. 40k is not real. It can't hurt you here.
You gotta wait 10,000 years for that pain.
Fantastic unit.
I agree.
They're even cooler in certain Rites of War, so we'll keep an eye out for that in the future.
I hate their chain mail face. I understand why.
It's not chainmail. It's actually a little like Drake skin. What I don't like is like the thin thing going down the back of the head. They have like layered armor.
I will say that if you go on like Cult 3D or something, or you find someone does 3D printing, they do some really good secondary heads, which are more like Drake heads, which look really good. But then that approaches 3D printing and stuff like that. But as a side note, I love their weapon though. I love the underslung flamer. And I don't know if do you see the back, Dave, or no? Can you see the back?
I don't mind the back actually. I have no problem with the back.
It's the little fucking the triple canisters of flames. It's so good. They're I don't like their heads, but they're really. I didn't know they came with a power fist.
Yeah.
Huh, neat.
I love these sculpts. Like as a whole, I love these sculpts. And
I like the Firedrakes more.
I'm absolutely picking up a squad of these from Forge World because they're so pretty.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So Dan wanted to talk about those said Firedrakes.
Oh yeah,
so
these things are
tell us about these Firedrakes.
So they are 250. Which is weird. That's very medium. I always thought they were 275, but whatever. You're looking at a normal Terminator stat line, with the exception of leadership is 9 and weapon skill is 5. But they are 2 wounds, initiative 4, attacks 2, 3, so on and so forth. They're in Cataphracti armor, their power weapon, and their combi bolter. So they're literally just a normal Terminator squad for 250. They're relentless, bulky 2, stubborn, forgecraft of Nocturne. They also have a will not die 5+, and they're favorite of Vulcan. For dedicated transports, these guys can take a Land Raider Proteus, but they can also take a Spartan if they get really big. For options, you can add up to 5 additional Firedrakes for 45 points each, which is a little expensive. You can replace their power weapon for Thunderhammers, Power Fist, and Chain Fists. Any model may exchange their Combi Bolter for Combi Flamer, Combi Meltas. The entire unit may exchange their Combi Bolters for 5 points per model. This is very interesting because remember, Dragon Skill Storm
Shield. You forgot to mention what they get. They could change out their bolter for 5 points, but what do you get for those 5 points?
Oh, Combi Flamer, Combi Melta. Apologies.
No. Dragon Scale Storm Shields.
I'm sorry. I skipped over that. I said 5 points and I completely.
It's there. For 5 points, you get this cool thing.
Yeah. Huh? So that's very different because normally it's 10 points to do it. So this is like a 5-point discount.
But the
And
entire squad has to do it. That's the drawback if you want to mix
hold on, I'll
it
get
out.
No, that's a
and
drawback.
then one model need to make exchange either a Kami Bolter or a Dragon Skull Storm Shield for Dragon's Breath Hemi Flamber for 10 points. Their favorite of Vulcan, I think it's just literally a retinue squad. It's literally the same thing as retinue.
Yeah, it makes them a retinue squad.
Good. Forgecraft Nocturne.
Without a standard option.
Yeah, they do not get the standard option in this retinue squad.
Some do, some don't. This one does not.
Forgecraft of Nocturne. Control the player of this model with a special rule may reroll all failed hit rolls for the weapons with the melee type.
You missed the most important one. Oh my god, Dan.
Of one, I'm sorry.
I am revoking your Salamander's rules reading privileges.
Rerolls for hit rolls of one.
You're like, man, these guys are so great. Yeah, they're really great if you misread most of their rules. It makes them so much better.
So they reroll failed hit rolls of one for weapons of this melee type. So, issues with this squad already that I'm going to point out. If you buy it from Forge World, the way that they come automatically is with Thunderhammer and Shield. Meaning, technically, if you buy it from Forge World, this is not a 250-point unit. This is a what? Hold on.
No one help them. Oh, don't help
him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was already coming out of my mouth.
Is 275, and then I need 50 more after that. So what? 325.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's good. He didn't even hear you anyway. It's okay.
Okay, good.
Oh, so it's 325 for the squad if you buy from Forge World, which, let's be honest, a full unit of Thunderhammers with Storm Shields. Okay, 325 is not bad. I'm just going to say it. Put him in. I mean, you have to take.
You have to take him in transport. They have to walk.
No, you put him in a transport.
Unless they're in a transport, yeah. There's no run option.
There's no. Yeah, you need to put them in a transport. So this is going to be your 600-point unit. This is going to take about a fourth of your army, depending on whether you're paying 2K to 3K. This is going to be about a fourth of a fourth or fifth of your army.
A third to a fifth. Yeah, there you go.
A third to a fifth. Yeah. Yeah. But honestly, okay. It does suck to put that many points in a unit, yes. But what you're getting out of it is an entire squad with Strength 8 brutal weapons that can reroll ones to hit and have a 3-up invulnerable save. I mean...
what I will say is they almost feel bad if you're not doing it that way. For their amount of points... Yep. Their bonuses. Okay, the reroll ones is useful. Don't get me wrong. But when I have a normal power weapon and I'm spending that many more points for it, that to me isn't worth necessarily the extra 75. The will not die is nice, but again, it's one guy's going to get that. Because only, I guess theoretically 2 because of a challenge. So I could get 2 out of a challenge. But I don't know if that'd be worth all the extra points. But yeah, if I'm gonna take these guys, I'm taking quite a few Thunderhammers and probably all Steel Shields.
You're getting weapon skill, which is really... honestly, it's a huge shift. Because I hate putting everything against Contemptors, but that's sadly the world we live in. Against Contemptors, you're changing from hitting on 5s to hitting on 4s. That is a world of difference.
And they are now hitting that Contemptor with brutal Strength 8 weapons.
Well, assuming you switch out the Thunderhammers. That's not necessarily an assumption.
Again, it comes with...
The weapon skill thing is huge. That alone is worth 5 or so points of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would buy the Firedrake.
I wouldn't take the combi options. No. If I'm taking other weapons, the Power Fist, I'd rather take probably the Thunderhammer or theoretically the Chain Fist for maybe one of those because I need to be able to open a tin can here and there.
1 in 5 gets a Chain Fist in case, you're dealing with a Spartan or something.
Yeah.
Something with the armor value. Knights, like proper knights. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would put him in the Storm Shields and probably put him with those set of weapons. 1 in 5, maybe 2 in 5. You kind of know your meta, know the kind of stuff. If man, I play, there's 4 different guys I play and everyone runs tons of vehicles. Okay, yeah, you kid him the other way, you're just going to have a bad day. Throw an extra one in there. Like, don't list Taylor, but if you know what you're going to face week in, week out all the time, and you're like, man, I get crushed unless I have at least a few of these to make a game of it. Make a game of it.
Yeah.
I just don't like spending that many points on a unit.
I was going to say,
that's
one
just
of the
me personally.
Biggest downsides of Firedrakes, as awesome and cool as they are, is you could almost only run them as a Death Star unit. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't think they work without it. They really don't. Not for the points you're putting in to not get like that cool extra, you know. Because again, yeah, I want to have. They're gonna need a transport, so I'm already spending a whole bunch of extra points. I want them to have some other things that feel worthwhile. Like they're gonna go up in points cost without even trying.
Yeah. But again, listen, if I'm going to spend a goddamn quarter of points on a unit, this is going to be the unit I'm going to spend it on.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
agree.
by the
That's
way,
a super big if.
yeah,
But
that's it.
if I'm forced to do it, that's not a bad option.
I will point out that the person I played against also had a biomancy librarian in there, and it was like, it was
Yeah,
not.
but it just means you're not doubling them out. That's what it does.
Yeah, no, it's also toughness 5, which is
Well, yeah. Isn't that so? Your Imperial Fistalist that you built, that's exactly what you did for both of your Terminator units, is you put a Biomancy Librarian in them.
That's not even fluffy, Dan. They locked
No.
all the librarians away and said, "You stay."
Actually, so I looked it up. So apparently, little side note, they locked them up, and guess who guarded them on the phalanx? All the goddamn Terminators, literally just staring at them the entire time. Like,
Yeah.
I dare you to move, and I'm gonna punch you in the face with a fist.
Yeah,
and then
not
the demons
come
came
with
out.
me.
Yeah, no. And then I was making a phalanx
And
demon
then
breach
the
phalanx.
demons were there.
Yeah, and then the demons
Sure,
came. They're like, "Oh shit, maybe we should have librarians with us."
All right. Either way. All right.
Wrong Legion.
So, I just had to bring that up because Dan was saying something that runs contrary to the things I've seen this man build.
Yes.
So that's all the units they give out of the main book. It's kind of disheartening. Luckily, at least in Legacies, they did give them some HQ choices. So we are going to run through
luckily,
those.
Tragically.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it. It's tragic.
Well, some of them aren't bad. The
no,
Dreadnought is sad.
All of it is dead. All of it is.
Right, let's judge. Well, so that's sort of a problem in general with Legacies. Legacies tends to have stuff be a bit overcosted. Not always. I mean, we could find the units that's not, but most of them tend to be overcosted.
Though. All right. This is next level, though. I'll let Dan cover the Dreadnought because he knows how bad it is.
Yeah.
No.
He just did Terminators and he can't read
Dave
rules,
can do
so
it.
Yes.
Yep. I'm doing it anyway. So take that. Because I like Dreadnoughts. So, but I don't like this Dreadnought because I already see his points. Cassian Dracos Reborn. He is the twice dead Avatar of the Sacred Flame. He is 310 points of garbage.
Go through the stat line. The whole thing.
Yeah. So he's moved 6. What type of Dreadnought is this guy?
We'll get there. I want you to guess at the end.
Okay. He's moved 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5. So he at least has got the betters on that. But he's strength 6, toughness 6, so a bit lower than the stat lines. So if you're playing mostly out of the book, he's worse than the stat lines you've seen for Dreadnoughts. He has 5 wounds, which is worse than what you've seen. Initiative 4, 4 attacks, leadership 10, 2 up save. That's reasonably standard. He has 2 Gravis Parafists with built-in Dragon's Breath Flamers. They've already put the extra attack in. I understand why they put the extra attack in because of the way they armed him. And I'm glad they said that. But I hate that they put it that way in the profile.
It should have been like 3 parentheses 4. Yep.
Exactly. Because and this happened to me, I think, in my first game when I was playing a Leviathan. Because Leviathan, it's in there as well. And I didn't lead the blurb underneath. I looked at his stat line because the stat line should tell you what to do. And I realized later, I'm like, oh, wait, I swapped out a weapon. I'm swinging with 1 too many attacks. Or at least put the asterisk next to the attack. Do something more. He's a Dreadnought. He's heavy. He's unique. He's a Salamander. He is the Avatar of the Sacred Flames, which I'll go through in a moment. He has the voice of the machine, and he's a loyalist. And since the update to the Legacies, they gave him a Ferromatic Deflector.
I can't believe.
So they did give him that. It's not as good as an Atomatic Deflector, but
he could take a drop pod too. Yay!
Hey, that's something.
So it's a box dread.
Yeah, I figured it was
It's a box dread. It's a named.
Is he box dread stats? No, his initiative is better than a box dread, though, right?
Yes, he has better initiative than a box dread,
but less wounds.
Nope, box dreads.
No, box dreads are 5. Yeah, they're less wounds in general.
Okay.
So he's a named character, and all he gets is 2 initiative and a wound for only a measly. what is that, like 150, 160 points?
Yeah,
It's 125
what's
for a normal dread with 2 fists. For a boxer with 2 fists. Yeah.
Oh no, so he's
Yeah.
this bad
I was
boy,
kind of generous on my estimate.
he's almost
He's
200
2.5.
points extra.
He's 2 and you could take 2 instead of this one guy.
Yep.
You can take 2 and you still have points left over to start doing more with.
Yes.
Yep.
He's 185 points too much.
But
all right, let's see what else he does. Okay, he can take a dreadnought drop pod as a dedicated transport. Cool, I don't care. As long as no so this is Avatar: The Sacred Flames rule. As long as no HQ choices other than Xiaphas Jurr or Narek de Gyur, which are the other. Wait, who's Narek de Gyur?
He's an Iron Warrior.
Got it. Okay, thank you. The name rang a bell, but when I was looking at our list, I didn't see him. As long as no other HQ choices other than those two are included in the same detachment, your dreadnought may be selected as the army's warlord. If it is selected as army warlord, he gets to use the bloody-handed warlord trait, which the bloody-handed is one of the base warlord traits.
Yes, I believe it's +1 to combat res.
I want to say you're correct on that. I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe that's correct. Warlord traits, here we go. Bloody-handed. Yeah, +1 to wounds for combat res and extra reaction assault phase.
So he doesn't even get a custom warlord trait.
No.
And he cannot lead a dreadnought army.
No, he cannot.
He can't even be... Yeah. He can't lead it.
No. So, Dan, in the time period of 1 minute, is going to tell us about the Cyberthurgy Arcana Artificia Machina.
All right, let me start my timer.
No, ready? No, it takes 5 seconds. You got 2 power. So these are basically like psychic powers. You have something you can test, something you cannot test, and then a weapon. So basically, as a shooting attack, does he have firing protocols, by the way, or no?
No.
He's a dreadnought, though.
He's a dreadnought. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just does
so
what
basically,
he wants.
You can automatically make a battlesmith's roll. So basically, you can heal a wound. Wait, but hold on. You don't have the battlesmith. Hold on a second. Let me just read the whole thing. It's going to take more. Instead of making a shooting attack, you may, a cyberthurgist with the cyberthurgic right may apply the effects of any version of Battlesmith X special rule they have to a single model with a vehicle, dreadnought, or automata that is within 12 inches. But he doesn't have... The effect is rolled as normally required by this Battlesmith X special rule, but does not require the cyberthurgist to be in base contact. That's because it's 12 inches. If successful,
Time's
the
up.
controlling player may choose to make a cyberthurgist check for the cyberthurgist model. But okay.
So what happens if you do the check?
You get it to do it twice. But he doesn't have Battlesmith X.
Yeah, what?
Like normally, so if you take a Magos, he's Battlesmith, let's say 5 or 4, and then you have like a servitor arm, so it makes it Battlesmith 3. So you would roll 2 3-ups to heal, right? And then, you heal the whole point. But he doesn't have...
Is that the only power you get for that?
Yeah, there's a shooting attack as well, but I wanted to focus on this.
For the shooting attack, because that's what he can actually do.
He doesn't get to do that thing, so it has to be from the shooting attack.
He only gets the shooting attack.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I was just reading to see maybe if, like...
No, he doesn't have it.
That's so fucking weird. Okay, so then congratulations. He takes a focus test, which is basically a psychic test. Range 12, strength 1, AP 1. It's a datagen, which means it can't hurt anything. Haywire, assault D6.
Wait, it can't hurt anything.
Yeah, datagen essentially just means like it can be strength 10, and all it can do is like affect a vehicle. It can't actually hurt something. Yeah.
Okay.
Assault D6 haywire.
So that's what he has then. He has that.
Hold on, I got to check the Battlesmith.
It's
rule.
Great. That's a great rule, but it's not worth.
It's not worth 185 extra points.
No. You know what's funny? I think the Battlesmith rules in the stupid
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have Battlesmith.
No, but it might be like on a 6-up.
There's no default for Battlesmith.
No, because you know some.
Nope. He doesn't have the rule. He can't use it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if there's a default. He doesn't have the rule to default to.
That's so fucking stupid.
You are paying 185 points to have a grav flamer that doesn't even do anything else. Sorry, a haywire flamer.
For his
and he can't run, so he can't even get into the middle of things fast.
His other thing, the Ferromatic Deflector, just going through that real fast. That's your 5-up invul save.
He explodes and does
normal, but he
hits.
explodes a strength 6 explosion. Yeah,
and
that's
he takes
the only difference.
3 wounds for instant death hits.
Is it a flat 3? It's not the D3.
It's flat 3 because it's for the little dreads.
Oh, okay, that's the little rule. Okay.
I don't understand. I'm trying my best to wrap around.
So for the voice, he essentially gets the shooting attack. That's all he gets. That's
no, it's not that. I'm trying to wrap around why the hell he's 310 points.
Because what if he was accidentally good? Oh no! If we can't let salamanders have nice things, only ultramarines. Only ultramarines.
No, man. This is.
It's okay. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on because it could only get better, right? Okay, I'll take the next one. Lord Chaplain, Nomus Rhy'tan.
Okay.
He is the voice of the fire, keeper of the keys of Prometheus. This is the High Chaplain of the Salamanders.
Oh, okay.
For 215 points, you're getting a move 7, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wound, 5 initiative, 4 attack, leadership 10, 2-up save model. He is an on-foot praetor with less weapon skill for stats.
Okay.
He comes with a combi flamer, a bolt pistol, Dark Star Falling, which is his custom power weapon. We'll get to that. Frag Crack Grenades, Artificer Iron, an Iron Halo, and Mantle of the Elder Drake, which is the Battle Hardened 1.
Battle Hardened 1. Yep.
He's a unique character. He's a salamander. He's a Master of the Legion, independent character. He is relentless and stubborn. He has hatred of everything. He has a Warlord trait called Keeper of the Keys, and he's a loyalist. So, Keeper of the Keys. Any model with a Dreadnought unit type and Salamanders rule within 6 inches of a Warlord with this trait may add 2 to their charge distance. In addition, you get an extra reaction in the opposing player's assault phase. Shooting phase. Shooting phase.
Yep. That's okay.
Shooting phase. Plus 2 to charge. Yay.
Wait, is this not a Warlord trait?
That's his Warlord trait. So if he's your Warlord,
okay.
He gives Dreadnoughts within 6 inches plus 2 to charge moves.
Yeah. They sometimes... They're not consistent with the way they show Warlord traits.
Good, okay, that's how I was going to say. Because I'm looking at this I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's why it said Warlord, Keeper of the Keys. If he's Warlord, this is his trait.
Yay?
Well, his weapon. Talk about his weapon.
Okay, his weapon, Dark Star Falling. Oh, yes. So this weapon is the twin, by the way, to Vulcan's hammer. So get ready for this. It's a power weapon.
Good.
Strength plus 2. AP 2. Melee, 2-handed, unwieldy.
So it's just it's basically a power axe with +1 strength.
No, because a power axe isn't 2-handed.
Oh, I don't know what.
The twin to Vulcan's hammer. Oh, did I mention earlier that Cassian Dracos was forged by Vulcan himself? So we have the Dreadnought forged by Vulcan, and the twin to Vulcan's hammer. That's what we've covered so far.
Vulcan's hammer is so much better. Wait, what?
All right. Well, so I know why then Cassian Dracos is so expensive, because you got a few of them custom upgrades.
That's why he's expensive. This isn't even a master crafted weapon.
No.
And he can't take the option
because
he's unique.
Yeah, it should just be master crafted automatically.
What the fuck?
For 250 points,
15?
you get less weapon skill than a generic Praetor.
Yeah.
Do me a favor.
And he's going to be probably 50 points more than the generic build.
I was just going to say, how much is a Praetor in? He's got Artifice here and
120.
How much? He's 120.
10. It's either 5 or 10 for the combi flamer. I forget.
No, I don't care about that. Give me Praetor and
Elder Drake's 35. So we're at 160 for the equivalent build.
Of like a Thunder.
We'll call it 170 because we're getting hatred.
Yeah, well, I don't what? No, because you get hatred from the Warlord trait if you're a loyalist. So if I take a Praetor with a Thunder Hammer a 3-up invulnerable storm shield in Cataphracti with the Warlord trait.
Not
that gives me
Cataphracti. He's on
hatred
foot.
anyway.
He's not a Cataphracti.
He's on foot.
No, I know, but I'm getting the reason I'm doing Cataphracti. Oh, I guess because he's
Why
got
would he
Artificer
Cataphracti?
Iron
He could take the shield without being
It's cheaper,
Cataphracti.
yeah.
Fuck
So
Cataphracti.
for like
Cataphracti's
60
stupid.
points less. For 60 points less, I build the same dude with a better Warlord trait.
Yup. And a better twin to Vulcan's hammer.
And a better weapon skill.
And you can even mastercraft it.
I
mean, hell, mastercraft the Combi Flamer too. You have the points spare.
I don't.
Okay. We know that they overcross stuff in here. That's a given. This guy is obviously better than the Dreadnought in many ways because, one, he's at least cheaper overall. You're not spending quite as an outrageous total. He at least does a few things. I'm not saying you shouldn't have to take them, but if you're running a lot of Dreadnoughts, hey, +2 on the charge, that is a thing. Characters do tend to sometimes either feel like they should be up in points or under. You take characters for more fun and fluffy reasons. If you don't like this guy for who he is and maybe a cool story about him, you wouldn't run him because you're not getting nearly enough as opposed to spending less money or less points and stuff like that on a regular guy.
I'd like to note that points value is not in magenta. Weapon skill, ballistic skill are.
Yeah, he used
those were 4s originally.
Those were 4s. Are you fucking?
Those were 4s.
Of course they were. They didn't downgrade things like that. It's only upgrades.
He's not even weapon skill 6. He's the High Chaplain. He should be a Praetor. He should at least be weapon skill 6, like every other Praetor is.
If they gave him that, I think he'd probably be worth the points. Honestly,
he'd be playable.
Knowing the way they do characters, you make him weapon skill 6. And he still has, the stubborn, the hatred, and stuff like that. He's got his other abilities. I'm not mad then. Having him the worst means that as a chaplain who might want to challenge and be up there fighting, he kind of wants to be careful about it. I don't want my chaplains to be careful about who they fight.
Maybe the last guy is going to be amazing. You know what? He's got a cool name. I'm going to say the last guy's amazing.
Karn is 40 points less than this guy.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, there's no redemption. There's no redemption.
You know what? The last guy's going to be amazing. I'm calling this shit.
All right, Dan, read it out for us.
I'm going to Xiaphas Jurr, 145 points. So for 145 points, you get.
I wouldn't be Caiaphas.
Probably Xiaphas. I don't even know. What do we got? Is that a Centurion stat line with like an extra wound?
That's right? Centurion with an extra wound and attack
and
leadership.
Okay. And leadership. All right. He's a psyker. Oh, hello. Okay. Bolt Mistle, Ignatus, Artificier, probably not. Artificier Armor, Dragon Scale Storm Shield, the Burning Halo, Frag Grenade, Crack Grenade. Okay. He's an independent character, relentless, stubborn, hatred, everything. So he might be a chaplain. Prophet of the Flame, and the Warlord is Beacon of Hope. All right, so he's got a lot of overrules. Okay. Let's see what he's got. 140. So his Warlord trait is, as long as Xiaphas Jurr has not been removed from play, is in reserve, or embarked upon a model with transport subtype, a single friendly unit comprised of models with the Salamander special rule may choose to use his unmodified leadership instead of their own when making a morale check pinning test. Meh. Wait, does he not get an additional reaction?
Nope.
No.
So he's not my Warlord. Congratulations.
Not until they add the line. It should be added.
Oh my God.
It should be assault phase because he's a chaplain.
Okay. So not my Warlord. I'm ignoring that. That doesn't count towards this 145. Ignatus. It's a power weapon. It's +2 strength, AP3, this one's mastercrafted. Mastercrafted blind in melee. Okay. I like that one.
You're not immediately hitting it for being AP3? Normally
no, because it's blind. The blind makes up for that because you just need to touch someone and the entire unit has to test for blind. So that's why I like it. And blind is very anti-mechanicum, and it's very much, if someone gets blinded, you're fucked. So, and it affects the unit. It doesn't affect the model. So I like that. 100%. The
and
Burning Halo. And it's mastercrafted. So you will you will bunk someone unless you roll like shit. Burning Halo is a 4-up invulnerable save, which actually I think then, hold on. Yep, it's a 3-up invulnerable save. Yep, so he's got a 3-up invulnerable. Okay. Automatically inflicts D3 hits on the target unit when making an Overwatch reaction. Result at strength 4. She's got like a D3 flamer, basically. Okay. When you Overwatch. But who cares? He's got a 3-up invulnerable. That's what I care about. And he has access to the Pyromancy discipline, which do I have to pull that up?
No, read the whole thing. Read it first. Then
I know leadership 7. Oh no, sorry, yeah. So Pyromancy discipline, but he uses leadership 7 as his main. I don't have this. Oh wait, I do. I do have Pyromancy in front of me. So that means that instead of shooting, I love this. Okay, I like this guy. So for those who don't know what I didn't realize this was Pyromancy. Oh, this is what the Thousand Suns player was doing. Oh my god. So Pyromancy is basically, instead of shooting, you can place a large blast marker anywhere in the battlefield that is entirely within 18. That's key. You have to put the entire thing within 18. So I think then the range is only, how big is a large blast? I think it's
5 inches. It says it right on the
13.
thing.
Yeah. No. Oh, fucking duh. So you got a 13-inch range, essentially. Once placed, scatter the marker D6. Determine the final position. Remember, a hit is a hit. And it stays there until the beginning of the controller's next shooting phase. The area under the marker is difficult terrain. Any model, friendly or enemy, under the marker's final position, or that moves onto through the marker, suffers a strength 6 AP 4 hit. Okay, so you might be saying, oh, that's shit. It's just one large blast, and if I don't touch it, I don't care. Except when you use the psychic power, you could take a psychic test, and you could place 3 large blast markers instead of just
on
one.
your leadership 7.
Yeah, listen, it's 50-50, but that's still long.
Keep in mind,
55.
if you fail, you take a perils and no markers are placed whatsoever.
Is it always I thought fail was always on a 12 or a
no,
12 or double 1.
Fail
it's a
is
leadership check.
Rolled over your leadership. That's a failure.
Okay.
Failure's not a 12.
Still a 50-50.
And he only has
by the
3
way,
wounds, so he could blow himself up on one failed check.
You let someone else, let some other mook take it.
True.
But think about it this way, Dan. Half the time you're just taking wounds, you're doing nothing. You're hurting yourself.
True.
Okay, he gets the nice 1 5-inch blast is cool. The other one, or remember, the game is off to knife fighting for the first 1 to 2 turns. He's now failing over half the time. You're not using it then.
Very true. But still, one large blast, and it makes people take strength 6 hits. All move through it. And this difficult terrain is nice. -2 to charge through it, which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what so I've never seen someone use the other one. What's the other one? It's a melee attack, unwieldy, strength 6 AP 3.
You put a blast marker over yourself.
Oh, okay. And then does it affect friendly as well? It's
automatic. Yes. Everyone under the template is going to take an automatic hit at strength 6 AP 3. But it's also psychic focus. So again, he's leadership 7. You got to pass a leadership test to make this go off, or you perils and nothing happens.
I mean, okay. For 145, put it this way, for 145 points, this dude is a hell of a lot nicer than the other characters. And I would actually take him. I would take him. Because for 145 points, you get your Hatred Everything. He's 3 wounds. Stick him in a Firedrake squad. Have him. If you do the psychic power, Dave, does that mean I can't swing, or can I swing and do the psychic power?
It's instead of.
Damn it. I was hoping to swing.
No, stop.
Oh, okay.
In addition to attacking normally, when a model with his weapon. So this is one of the few that's additional. Most of them are sort of a replacement style effect. This one is an addition.
Okay.
But it hits everyone under the template. So if you're near your unit, and you very well could be, you might not want to use it.
But it is AP 3, so I could see this, like, let's say you charge some tactical squads with your Firedrakes, even though they're going to crush them. Maybe, no, you would never use it. Honestly,
you wouldn't use it then, because if you fail it, you're going to perils and kill your Firedrakes.
I would literally just use it for the shooting attack, because I've seen it, and I've seen someone place 3 down, and it's massively annoying to go through. But that being said, I like him. He's got a blind weapon. That automatically makes me. Not a lot of things have blind in the game, and blind, when it affects you, is super bad. I'm sorry. When it affects the enemy, is super good for you and super bad for the enemy. For those who don't know, blind makes you weapon skill and ballistic skill 1.
Yeah, but it's an initiative test for most things, because we're going out of the Marine books. For most things, you only fail on a 5 or a 6,
which is fine. That's still a 33% chance.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, to me, that's not a determining factor. It's a nice to have, but that will never determine anything for me.
And for 145 points, how much is a normal Centurion with Chaplain upgrade?
I just did that math.
Oh, good,
Essentially,
yeah.
you have 30 points left over to upgrade with the blind bonus.
And did you put the shield in there?
Yes. For 30 extra points, you're getting another wound and another attack.
And the blind.
Yes.
And the Mastercraft. Did you add the Mastercrafted as well?
That's part of being a chaplain.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, for 30 points, you're getting an extra wound, extra attack, and blind. I think that's hella worth it. I think that's apt. Don't run him as your Warlord.
Definitely.
No.
This is definitely a playable model, unlike the rest.
Yes, this is 100% playable. And if you have a Mechanicum player, again, we haven't done like the Mechanicum book review yet or tactics, but if you have a Mechanicum player in your local area, take blind. If you bonk anything in the Mechanicum book, the highest initiative we have, well, actually, it's actually 4, but the majority highest initiative we have is 2, with even the Magos being 3. So this is like an excellent, if you're in melee, just boop, because all you have to do is hit. You don't need a wound. You don't need to even like have an unsaved wound. You just need to bonk him.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's nice to at least got to character. So we will push on the final thoughts on what's going to be one of the potentially shorter videos that we've done for this.
Yeah, this is a lot shorter.
Well, what's all said and done, we talked about certain things for quite a while, actually longer than we might on other pieces. But overall, yeah, it's a little bit shorter. Partially just because they have a lot less stuff. They have 2 squads and they have 3 characters. And 2 of the characters, like we talked about them, but they're not good choices. They're really not. It's a shame.
It's a shame.
So when we look at Salamanders, their scheme is nice. They have a nice shade of green. Some of the models I'm not too much of a fan of, just because they're a little bit too finicky for me, but that's me personally. You might like them with their like belly dancer veils that they have on them. I think the 2 squads they got make up to an extent for some of the other things that they're just missing. They have one decent character, the other one's not so much, but their squads are very, very nice. They very much fit the theme. They are quite good for what they do. The Firedrakes do feel like you got to put a lot more points in them if you want them, but the Pyroclast can probably rock on their own just the way they are. Their trait fits very nicely. Their reaction feels good. I know some people don't necessarily like it, but I do actually think their reaction is pretty good compared to some other legions. Some legions have great reactions. I wouldn't necessarily say theirs is one of the top, but I think it's reasonably well up there. I think this is another good, strong choice. They fit very well, I believe, out of your sort of starter box with if you get either the special weapon kit or the GW's just released the heavy weapons. And one of the sets of heavy weapons has the heavy flamers. So I think that's a really cool way to do it. You could easily...
And
meltas, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm even thinking, like, if you don't want to buy Forge World Pyroclast, you could easily make something similar to that if you want. That you have some of the abilities to kind of make some of those models.
Hell, if you
Firedrakes essentially, Firedrakes just really need shields.
No, I was going to say, so if you really want Firedrake shields, the most common, I think 90% of the time I've seen this, the most common modification is you just buy Lizardmen shields.
Yep. Yeah. I suggest taking 2 of them, fusing them together to give it a little bit more bulk. But yes.
Yeah, you could do. But honestly, the Lizardman shields are pretty. Like I have. Let me look at the Lizardman Source Old Blood that comes on the Carnosaur, and his shield is freaking massive.
That's also a character model.
Yeah,
so.
I don't
know if it comes on an $85 amount. You're not going to buy.
I do not suggest buying.
Don't do that.
Old Bloods, Source Old Bloods, to be able to get your shields for these guys.
Here, Lizardmen.
No, Dan, it's on the thing.
Source Warriors have surplus shields. If you know anyone that collects Seraphon, they probably have a ton of them lying around. It's like, hey man, here's $10. Can I get your spare shields? You're like, just take them. You're like, cool.
Yeah, honestly, or even if you eBay, you could probably find a bunch of the shields.
That's what I was looking
all
for
kinds
right
of weird
now,
things and bits. We know what you're looking for because you're saying it out loud.
Yeah. Double them up, stick 2 of them together, green stuff, or do something to fill the gap, or cut them down to fit together. It's a different style, but it definitely works.
Oh, and I found the STL. Like, it's not even
Well, that's easy. That's easy.
Yes,
But I was
yeah,
going to say, if you're
that's an
looking,
You could also
that's an
just
assumption.
take.
We're talking about other options.
hold
You
on,
could
hold
also just take Indominus Terminators, take their shields, file them down to be a little smoother, and then just like put some scale patterns on them. Scales are
Ironically,
actually fairly straightforward to sculpt out of green stuff compared to some other patterns. You just kind of like put on blobs, flatten them a little bit. There you go. It's a scale. Yeah, you just do that a few
fun
times
fact,
and
I cannot find
cover it up.
bits.
All right.
I that's weird. Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sure there's bits to find if we spend enough time,
Yeah.
but we're not going to spend the time for that.
Spellcrow
No,
makes
no,
some
you're
good
not.
stuff too.
I was just very surprised it doesn't pop up. Interesting.
I'm sure it's out there. I would say overall this is definitely it feels like a pretty decent starter legion because the trait, you don't have to do anything special for the trait. It's just happening. You can play pretty well to some of the squads with the starter box. You could easily call some of those things one thing or another to be able to make that work. And you don't, for better or worse, you don't have like that cool Forge World character that you have to worry about buying because they don't have it. So
Oh no!
if money is your thing, you don't necessarily really have to look at the Forge World options. Um, Actually, taking a look, the special, so they obviously have Vulcan as the character. The other character they have is a Venerable Dreadnought that was not the one here.
Oh no, it
It's
is. It's the same
Greyarth
model.
Ashmantle.
Yes, Brayarth Ashmantle and Cassian Dracos are the same model in every example.
Okay, what? Okay, they
Because
should
they
call
made
it the one that
one
they actually have now.
because they made one Venerable Dreadnought sculpt for each founding legion / chapter, and they just recycle that model for everything. So at this point, that is Ashmantle or Dracos. It might
And
even
Ashmantle doesn't
canonically,
have any rules.
it might be canonically the same Dreadnought. I'm not sure on that.
Okay, yeah, it could be someone below on the YouTube usually corrects us. That's a thing, and I do
Yeah.
like when people put down little fluff things because we don't. If this is your legion and you love them, you're going to know more about the legion than we do. We might hopefully know a good bit about the rules and about the game and understanding it that way. But if there's some obscure passage that talks about that, we're not going to know that. But I love knowing those things. I love finding that stuff out. Steve, do you have any final thoughts for these guys since you play them?
Yeah, so I think that a tactical blob with chain bayonets is a pretty solid choice in this legion because it makes the unit very well rounded, reasonably durable against things that you normally use to delete tactical squads because the -1 to wound on the plasmas and the meltas. And the chain bayonets paired with their once per game reaction means that you're now swinging at strength 6 with weapon skill 5. Shred. That's not bad at all. So building out of the starter box, that's definitely a solid route you could take. Um, they're straightforward to play, and there's so many ways you could take the theme of the Legion. Um, they were a testbed Legion that tested Mark 6 armor in the prototype phase. They're like, it's not great. I would make these couple of adjustments for more siege-oriented roles, something a little more durable. This is before the Raven Guard tested it and found huge success. But they were one of the 2 testbed legions along with the Iron Warriors. So they have Mark 6. Mark 3 is iconic because that's what their Pyroclasts are sculpted in.
Mm-hmm.
You could do so much with them. Cataphracti fit them flavor wise really well. That's in the starter box. You will use that Spartan and the Dreadnought without a doubt for this Legion. What am I missing?
No, I don't think I'm missing anything. And green's not green's not necessarily a tough color to paint either. If you're using GWs, I guarantee they have a contrast that fits it well. That'll do you a good scheme. Even if you're not, green is a sometimes a little bit more of a forgiving color, and you can do a nice variety to greens. They have their shade of green, but obviously, if you go a little bit up or a little bit down in the hue, you could really vary it up for yourself. Their iconography and potentially flames, which if you want to paint well, you can put some flames on it. That's going to make them stand out to me as salamanders.
Oh yeah, you could probably find some stencils and decals for that too,
Oh, please
from
do.
like model cars and things like that, right? And
Yeah.
their 40k emblems the same as their Heresy emblem. So if you have some old 40k transfer sheets lying around, put those to use. Although I will say the Forge World ones are very nice if you get your hands on them.
Yeah. I find the 40k transfers, when you can get your hands on them, is a nice way to do like the tax squads. Because let's face it, the Forge World one, if you're only buying one of them, it doesn't give you enough to do like your line units the way you may want. But the 40k ones, they're the same. And those often came in packs of one thing or another. So you can usually get a bunch of those for real cheap and easy. And then I save all my Forge World transfers for anything special. Dan, do you have any thoughts beyond what we have said?
Just honestly, they look great. I think this is probably this is a Legion that I wanted to do because they look fucking cool. The Primarch looks amazing. The Dreadnought, the specialized Contemptor Dreadnought looks amazing. Other than the heads, I love the Firedrakes. I love that stupid underslung flamer. I wish there were more weapons like that. I've always loved like underslung stuff that you grip from the top. The Dreadfire close combat, even on the Dreadnought, looks cool. You could probably put that on a Contemptor and it would look cool. They just look like a damn cool Legion. And going over, and like I said, I love their advanced reaction. I love that their Legion trait is very simple. Just again, this and Alpha Legion were my top two. And I don't think this has changed at all. This hasn't changed anything. Sadly,
we'll see what you decide then. You got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But, all right. I think that will do it for us for tonight for the Salamanders. All right. And that'll do it for us tonight. Now, we have 2 more Legions left. The plan is to finish this all next week. There's still some Rites of War. Actually, at this point, they're all recorded, but I'm just a little bit behind on getting some of those out. But next week, we have Raven Guard, then we have Alpha Legion, and then we are done. We do have some ideas of where to go next, things that we'd like to do. I am interested to hear what listeners might like us to do next. Is there other particular things they want us to do related to this? Do they want more general episodes talking about what we've been doing, what's going on, events, running games, or who knows what? So if you have suggestions, we're absolutely always listening and wanting to take any of your thoughts into consideration. The hope is that once we get through this, we can start slowing down a little bit on the release schedule because we got a lot of this out. Twice a week, some weeks is fine. Other weeks it gets a little bit rough being able, having 3 to 4 hours available to record twice a week. But we'll see exactly what the plan is going forward for that. I do want to thank anyone and everyone who does listen. As always, we're available in any podcatcher. Reviews there obviously help. We also put all this stuff up as well as extra stuff on YouTube as well, which likes and subscribes, especially subscribes, really help. YouTube doesn't care about you until you hit certain numbers, and we've been increasing. Well, we're just not there yet. So expect to see some Rites of War come out scattered throughout the next week and a half, and expect hopefully next week for us to be done these deep dives into the Legion. And we'll see once that's done and we take a breath and take a moment of exactly what we want to do from that moment then. All right, well, on behalf of everyone here at the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.